Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Wildcat Weekly Coaches Report. Joe Stuart here with you on the Linfield Sports Network with head men's soccer coach Andy Duvall. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well myself. We're busy week here in the Linfield Sports Information Department, but busy week for everybody. Start of fall sports, of course. And with the start of fall sports came your first win of the year against Evergreen State on Monday, 3-1. Bouncing back after a couple of tough losses to start, but 3-1 win against the Gooey Ducks. What did you like about the chances your team was able to create in that match?
Yeah, I think something that our team has consistently tried to learn and implement is throughout the course of putting together our game model and the way that we want to play, they realize they're going to have a certain type of chances on goal when a team tries to high press us. And obviously we play in a way where we're probably going to get high pressed quite a bit by opponents. And so I thought that on very limited training in the area of the field where we are looking to try and create goal scoring chances, the guys did extremely well at getting behind Evergreen's back line, looking to try and get numbers forward, create opportunities to be able to have high percentage goal scoring chances. And that's part of the game model these guys are learning right now, is that there are probably going to be consistently a lot of teams that will outshoot us because they're going to take low percentage shots and not really create much from it. And I think statistically, I don't know what it looks like right now, but I would bet that we're actually converting, even though we haven't scored a ton of goals, we also haven't taken a ton of shots. And the guys are slowly learning how to create those good goal-scoring chances, and so I'm going to assume that we will probably have a higher goal-scoring to shot-taken percentage than almost everybody we will play this year.
Well, that's a pretty nice number to have, for sure. You got to love the efficiency. But as you just mentioned, of course, they started taking a whole lot of shots. At the end of the day, you guys were outshot by about 9. They had 8 shots on goal. So do you chalk that more up just to the way the game went? Of course, they were starting to fire off far more shots towards the end of the game, and it seemed like we were more of an defensive focus. Or was that more along the line? Do you see something that you guys need to adjust somewhere along that to kind of limit those late game opportunities? Because that's where some of the ones on goal started to add up as well.
Sure, yeah, and the majority of the ones on goal were taken from 25 yards plus, which if you're a college goalkeeper, you're expected to make those saves, yeah. Right? And so if your opponent is shooting from 25 plus yards, that means you're probably doing a reasonably good job of limiting good chances for them, and you let your goalkeeper be a goalkeeper. But I mean, I'm going to look at my watch because here we are on September 8th, starting approximately 3 weeks ago. We've got probably, taking a stab at it, 60% of our game model implemented with the guys and working our way from back to front in all 3 phases of the game: attack, defense, and transition. And so where we are not firing on all cylinders right now is the area of the field that we haven't spent the most significant amount of time, which is getting up into the attacking third from the midfield third. And so we saw some fruits of very limited labor on that against Evergreen State. And the more that we work on that area of the field going forward, we'll start to see more from that. But no, I don't think that the shots against for us is a concern at all, to be honest with you. I think if anything right now in the point of development that we're in, it's a benefit because the way that we play, we will probably be the majority of the time conceding counterattack opportunities from our opponents based on mistakes that we will make. And knowing how to defend against those counterattack opportunities is going to make us better. So, no, actually, I really like the fact that teams are out shooting us right now because it's important for our development to be able to manage that aspect of the way that we play.
Sure. So, and kind of in that same vein, as you mentioned, let a goalkeeper be a goalkeeper. Julian Inches did a really good job of that in the second half of that match with 7 saves. All 3 of your keepers have now got about 90 minutes of game time. Only Josiah Rothwell played full end-to-end. But what are you looking for here over the next few matches? For one of those guys, Inches, along Josiah Rothwell, as I just mentioned, and of course Peyton Frazier, who started on Monday. What are you looking for from one of those guys to really separate themselves and show the qualities that you think comes with being a starting keeper?
Yeah, you have to take into consideration the way that your team plays and what the best characteristics are for a goalkeeper that's going to play within that team. Mm-hmm. And as of right now, we are going to need more of a shot-stopping goalkeeper than a game manager. If you're a team that limits your opponent's opportunities strictly to try and counterattack on your opponent, then you probably need a goalkeeper that's better at organizing the guys in front of him than he is at shot-stopping, because he may only see 4 to 5 shots a game. But philosophically, if you play in a way where you're going to give up some counterattack opportunities and teams are going to be encouraged to try and shoot from 22 to 30 yards out regularly, then potentially you're going to need a shot stopper as opposed to a player manager, right? And so the goalkeepers for us right now they're separating themselves based on their own performances. And you'd mentioned Josiah is the only one that's gotten 90 minutes. That was all part of the plan for the preseason, was to give guys 45 minutes at a time. Josiah stayed on for 90 in that game because, in all honesty, I felt it was unfair, based on the way the game was going, to throw in a brand new keeper at halftime and say, good luck. you know, didn't make sense. And it was Josiah's opportunity to try and continue to work on his game. So what the goal for myself and our goalkeeper coach, Jeremiah Doyle, has been since before season began was to make up our minds on the number 1 and number 2 keeper by the time we entered conference play. So we've seen a lot of things from each of the 4 keepers that are working out with us right now. Henry, of course, hasn't been able to get in due to some physical things he's dealing with. But out of the 4 active goalkeepers, we've seen a lot of what we were hoping to see from them. And that decision will come after we have a first team and a reserve team game this coming weekend.
Sure, yeah. So let's talk about that. Final non-Northwest Conference match this weekend. Another solid CCC squad. Northwest University, they've already beaten 2 NWC schools. What are going to be some of the things you're looking for here in the final match to really evaluate your team before conference play starts the following weekend?
Yeah, just simply further development. I mean, what it is we work on in training, we'll build on what it is that we've already worked on, seeing the team execute the things that we've trained on at a higher ratio, and continuing to try and move in a direction that gets us playing the game as well as we possibly can under the style of play that we want to play. And so it's just about trying to move forward. And the wins and losses, they come when your team is able to play in a way that is uniform, is what I'll say, because until you train a team to actually all try and play in one particular way, then you have a bunch of individuals on the field that are all having their own ideas, doing their own thing. And what we've seen is a really good progression of a collective understanding of how to play the game from back to front, front to back. And it's shown in the results that, yes, we have had taken some tough losses, but we took those tough losses based on the areas of training that we had worked on and the ones that we had not. You can't train the entire game in 7 to 10 days, particularly when you're starting out with a brand new philosophy of play. And so those tough losses came in ways that teams who are at the training segment that we're at will take those losses, and the wins will start to come once we've got the full game model implemented. And so we're excited about this weekend and moving one step closer to where we really want to be, and Northwest is going to be a good opponent for us to try and test that against.
Yeah, and you mentioned the reserve match as well. What have you liked about the younger players, the reserve players? Even just last week, right before you started the actual season, you had a reserve match before that one, and there were guys on the pitch who didn't even play in the exhibitions before, who then were on the reserve. It seems like you're very willing right now to move guys up and down between those two teams.
Yeah, and I think that's the way you have to do it if what you're going to do is create a competitive program. I mean, there is no guarantee that you are a first-team player, and there's no guarantee that you're a reserve team player. I mean, every day in training has to be a competition. And if you're going to have that, then guys can't get comfortable or assume that they've done enough to simply be on one team or haven't done enough to fall to the other team. And so we have been very free in our movement of moving those players back and forth, all the while staying within the NCAA requirements of not overplaying anybody. And so those reserve team matches are important for a lot of different reasons. They're important to create competition. They're important to develop players appropriately and continue to teach, because that's our job, is to teach these players. And without providing them with game realistic opportunities, they aren't going to learn at the rate that we need them to learn. So the reserve team matches are extremely vital for what it is that we're trying to do, and the guys playing in those matches are doing so with the full understanding that every opportunity that they get is an opportunity to try and grow and move into a position that is more desirable for them.
Awesome. So again, the Wildcats on the road this weekend. It's actually a bit of a road spell here with Northwest up in Kirkland, Washington, and then starting conference play on the road in Eastern Washington with Whitman on the 18th, followed by Whitworth on the 19th. It won't be until the 25th that the Cats are back in action here in McMinnville taking on George Fox, but we'll of course have live coverage of that match on the Linfield Sports Network. Coach, good luck on the road, and thanks for the time.
Great. Appreciate it, Joe. Thank you.